Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Arlene Dijamco, the MultiDimensional MD. Thank you so much for joining me again today. And this time it is a later night podcast episode. And as always, my mission is to bring the intuitive aspects of health back to medicine in practical and tangible ways so that you can access deeper healing and experience more peace, love, and joy in your everyday lives. Now, I've been hearing from all of you, and people have been emailing in comments and requests for podcast episodes. And thank you so much for sending those in. I read everything and I do take it into consideration. So today's podcast episode is from another request that was sent in to talk about headaches. Now, headaches are such a big topic. And so I'm going to give you a general overview from a multidimensional perspective. And I'm hoping in talking about headaches in this way that maybe you'll consider aspects that you didn't know were related to headaches or remedies you hadn't thought of before. And we'll go through different aspects of life and how they could contribute to headaches. So this is for all different types of headaches. So just to introduce you to what a big issue this is, according to the World Health Organization, about 40% of people experience some kind of headaches. And the most common kinds of headaches are tension headaches, migraine headaches, and medication overuse headaches. So, tension headaches tend to feel like a tightness or achiness or a band around your head, and they tend to be associated with some sort of tension in the body or overall stress. Migraine headaches will be more a pulsating and throbbing component to it, can be really sharp feeling, can be on one side, and there can be associations of nausea, vomiting, or light and sound sensitivity. And then medication overuse headaches, interestingly enough, they tend to be associated with overuse of medications that are used for a headache. So it's a secondary headache. It's like you get these rebound effects, and your body's not quite able to adjust to that. And the medication headaches tend to be more persistent, so you'll feel them on most days, and they tend to be worse in the morning. So that's there's other kinds of headaches, but those are the three most common types. And so you can kind of see like where you might fall in that if you're experiencing any headaches or a loved one is experiencing headaches. So some red flags for headaches would be if they're worsening, if the intensity is like the worst in your life, then that could be an emergency situation. If they tend to be worse at night. And so if you're unsure, then definitely check in with a healthcare professional. Anything on this podcast is not meant to be medical advice or diagnosis or treatment. So definitely check in with your healthcare professional about that. Go see a neurologist if you need to, get any imaging studies if you need to. But most of the headaches aren't going to require escalating to emergent or urgent care, but those are some red flags. And if there's any question, then get it checked out as soon as possible. I'll be going over in this episode structural concerns, nutritional deficiencies, supplements that are commonly used for headaches and can be helpful, mental emotional aspects, other remedies, and identifying and addressing triggers, which is really important. So, again, this is going to be a multi-dimensional approach on headaches. And the first thing is to address basic needs. And this you could probably think for anything. Dehydration is a common known cause of headaches. And so if you are not drinking enough, you've been playing in sports events, or you've just been going, traveling, then make sure you get enough water. You want your urine to be straw yellow, so a pale yellow. So if it's getting more concentrated, then you're more and dehydrated. You are getting dehydrated. And fatigue and headaches can be a sign of dehydration. So address that first. Also, you could be hungry. You could have some micro fluctuations in your blood sugar. That can contribute to headache. Your brain needs to be nourished and it needs to be bathed in fluids. And so just address these common things first. You the quality of your food also matters. So we're going to be going over that in terms of headaches triggers in just a moment. If you are not getting enough sleep, then that can also contribute to headaches. The quality of your sleep also matters. So adjust your sleep however you can. And that I know is a whole other topic in itself. So, and then the rest of these are other things that I will consider anytime someone comes to see me for headaches. There are structural aspects, meaning that there can be tension in the body, especially with those tension headaches, but there can be tension in the body for any kind of headache. So if you have any sort of pressure in your head, and a headache is pressure in the head, so you're feeling that. That's the feedback that you're getting, that there's something putting pressure in areas, and you could get these vectors of force in you. You could have gotten that from a birth injury. Even if you're an adult, it could be lingering things from just not necessarily like an abnormal birth, but just being squeezed through a small opening and having that head squeeze and body squeeze through the birth. So I had birth issues that were addressed late in my 20s, and yeah, and certain things felt so much better. I felt more clear. I could think more easily, and I didn't realize I had tension in my head until that was relieved. So that was the first time I had seen a cranial osteopath, and then I was so impressed and intrigued and curious that I decided to get training in cranial osteopathy myself. So birth, but also any kind of injury through your life. It could be a fall, it could be a car accident, it could be other kinds of injuries too. And we'll get to the mental emotional in a bit, but any kind of physical injury. So that can put pressure on the nerves, that can put pressure on the blood vessels, and that it could pressure on the drainage from your head. Those blood vessels are really important to both nourish the brain, but if you get some pressure, say on the sides of your head here, then that can interfere with the optimal flow of that middle meningeal artery, which is a branch of the internal carotid. And so that blood vessel can sometimes feel like it's pulsating, and that can contribute to migraine types of headaches. So osteopathic treatment, especially cranial osteopathic treatment, can be really helpful for headaches. And I've seen people with that have had headaches of all different types. And another thing I look at are nutritional deficiencies. So I'll go over some highlights, but you could consider getting a nutrition panel to see if there is anything in particular that might be helpful for you. So some things that are known to be helpful for headaches are magnesium, especially magnesium threonate. If we're looking at supplements, magnesium threonate is best at crossing the blood-brain barrier. So anytime we're looking at something nervous system related, then magnesium threonate may be the type of magnesium that I choose. And magnesium is used in hundreds of enzyme processes, so important in so many aspects. B vitamins, and these we can get through leafy greens, and so we're looking at like overall function of the body and using all these nutrients that our bodies need. So if you need to consider taking a daily multivitamin, that's a good place to start. But at the end of the day, it's also looking at your diet and seeing what kinds of things that you might be missing there. If you haven't watched my episode on the alkaline diet, then I would highly recommend that to help rebalance any dietary issues that you need to. Antioxidants are also something to consider. So this is going to be in our rainbow of foods, especially those reds, blue, and greens. There are some studies showing that CoQ10 is it's a type of antioxidant, useful for your brain, your brain, but each of the cells batteries, that mitochondria in the cells. So CoQ10 is really important there. Other antioxidants like vitamin A can also be helpful. So this is again meant to be an overview. So we're touching on different things to consider. You can also think about if you need other kinds of minerals, especially iron. So if you are anemic, then you're going to be feeling more fatigued. You could have some paleness to you. The oxygen won't be carried around as efficiently. So addressing issues of anemia will be also important for any type of headache. And then we want to see that the body systems are integrated. So Of course, within the head, you have your brain there. So you need your nervous system to be working optimally. And certain things can interfere with nervous system function. If you are not digesting things well, then you could be both not assimilating nutrients that you need. So, those minerals, B vitamins, antioxidants, but you also might not be eliminating toxins that you need to get rid of. And so that will increase the toxic load on the body and become an irritation to the nervous system, not to mention other body systems. So, there was a study that showed that constipation was a um, was common in people in kids that had teens, especially that had headaches. So this 2015 study showed that by addressing constipation, they were able to improve headaches in teens. So I bring that up because when people have headaches, they think about their brains and they think about the nervous system, but you might not be thinking about your digestion or the fact that you're not eliminating properly. So for proper eliminations, you want smooth bowel movements that don't require a lot of pushing. You want to have them at least once a day, and they should look smooth and snake-like. So if they're getting squished together like Play-Doh or looking like balls, then you're constipated, and definitely address that because it's going to make your body work harder, and things get clogged up, and that can show up as a headache. And thinking about just like body system integration in general, there can also be some hormonal integration that is needed for women, for females that are menstruating. You might notice that headaches have some sort of rhythm to them that are have to do with the menstrual cycle. But it's not just the female hormones; it's also other hormonal systems. The hormones are either tend to be along the midline or symmetric to the midline, those major endocrine organs in the body. And so you can think about like how stress might impact your hormonal system, including your adrenals and what that might be driving. And it's like revving up the engine and demanding your nervous system to work more. So when your nervous system is working harder, then it's more likely to spark and have some short circuits, which could feel like a headache. So I know we could get into a lot more detail about each of these organ systems, but I want to touch on all of these things so you can have a more expanded view of what headaches are and what they might mean for you or as someone else that is experiencing headaches. Also consider the mental emotional aspects because as I mentioned before, tension headaches tend to be associated with tension in the body and stress. And stress can be a common trigger for all kinds of illnesses, and not just tension headaches, but migraines and other kinds of headaches. So look at what's going on in your life, what's going on in the family, what stresses are there, what's going on in school or work. And it's not avoiding every stressor completely because life is stressful, but it's learning how to navigate the ups and downs of life. So, incorporating things that will help to ease things for you, relieve tension, help you to flow through things better. So that can include getting more sleep, but it can also include things like meditation and mindfulness, yoga, qigong. All of these things are great at also helping the body systems to integrate. Cranial osteopathy can help to reset the nervous system and to help the body systems integrate as well. And then to just note something that Edgar Casey said about headaches was to pay attention to your attitudes, because if you're complaining a lot, that is tension that is going to build up in your system, and with those looping thoughts you get a lot more energy rising and coming up to your head. So there needs to be a way to ground that energy literally, and so yeah, a headache will represent that too much energy in the head. But we have some control over it by the choices we make in terms of our thoughts, our words, our actions. So if we can create some more ease in our thoughts, words, and actions. So it's like considering like, what can we be thankful for today? What can we do instead of thinking about what we can't do? It's so easy to think about what you can't do, complain about things that are going wrong, but to have more efficient thoughts, then I would just say consider what you can do and consider what you're thankful for, because where you focus grows. So as you open those pathways, then you can experience more of that and have more ease to your nervous system, help to ease some of these headaches. There are many remedies that you could consider for headaches, and so I will touch on some common ones. There have been studies showing that essential oils like lavender, peppermint, eucalyptus can be really helpful. So where you apply that, there can be essential oil combinations. So it's easy to get one that's already diluted. Some are labeled specifically for headaches. Where you put it depends on where you're experiencing headaches and where you have tension in your body. So if you're having more tension type headaches, you might want to put some of these things on your neck and shoulders. If you're having migraines or you're feeling it right in your temples, you might want to put that there. So just easy things you can consider. There are many homeopathic remedies. I'm not going to go through those today because there's so many details to it, but there are many homeopathic remedies that could be considered depending on the specific type of headache that you are experiencing. And there's also herbal remedies or botanicals that you can consider. There was a study in 2020, or it actually was a review article that found went over like 19 studies, and it found that curcumin was really great for preventing headaches, and chamomile was actually useful for treatment of headaches. And so, whether you're taking that as a supplement or incorporating it in your diet in other ways, you could just think about what you're eating. So maybe getting some turmeric and getting those antioxidants and anti-inflammatory components from that, adding it to anything that you're cooking, or drinking chamomile regularly. Chamomile is one of the best nervines. It's also great for digestion as well. And it's one of my go-to herbal teas that I'll reach for, but because of those properties, that it's soothing, it's nutritious, and both of those are very gentle. There's many other botanicals we could turn to. Some of them require some more caution, such as butterbur, which needs to be processed to remove the pyrrolizidine alkaloids that can have some liver toxic and other toxic effects. So I tend to go for the more gentle remedies first, and why not do the easier things before turning to things that might feel more aggressive or have more risks to them. In the study, also found that ginger was could be helpful for the pain and also for nausea and vomiting, and that's associated with some kinds of headaches. And then lastly, I wanted to mention how to identify and address triggers. So if you are getting headaches frequently or regularly, then, well, one, I would definitely suggest talking to some kind of healthcare professional to help you navigate it, but to start keeping a headache diary so you can see what your triggers are: lack of sleep, those basic needs, food, or if you're having a stressful day, emotional triggers, family or work issues, or these other triggers to take note of. So some major ones include caffeine. That can be that's a known trigger. What's interesting about caffeine is that it can be used to both ward off a headache, and it can also trigger a headache. So I think part of that has to do with how you process caffeine. Some people are very sensitive to caffeine and slow processors, and some people can process it much more quickly. And so to avoid excess caffeine or coffee, and this is probably also why like chocolate might be a trigger for some people and might not be. Caffeine has been found to be more of a trigger. Chocolate is not as sure of, but it does have caffeine in it. So to have a heads up about that. Sports and energy drinks can have caffeine in it, other candies or medications. So just check on that. Smoking is another trigger. So, of course, we know it's not healthy for many reasons, but people that are smoke are more likely to get headaches. Excess sugar and excess processed carbs or skipping meals can be triggers for headaches. So just watch the ratios of what you're eating. I have talked about, especially in that Concord grape juice episode, how excess carbs can contribute to all sorts of issues, including blood sugar fluctuations. So we want to stay more steady and eat more balanced diets. Cured or fermented products are another trigger for some people, not everyone. This is why you keep a headache diary. But cured or fermented products include meats like hot dogs, bacon, ham, cheeses, and other fermented products like yogurt or kefir. Alcoholic beverages, including red wine, which is a known trigger, but it can be other alcoholic beverages, beer, or hard liquor. And the reason why these can be headache triggers can be multifold. So it can be because of the nitrites and nitrates in them. It could be in the high salt in certain ones of these products, like the fermented meats and cheeses. It could be high tyramine. It could be the high histamines. So there are so many components to why each of these cured or fermented products could be triggers for a person. So just to keep an eye out, like what is and what might be a trigger for you. Um, Other foods can also have like high histamines. Some of those fermented products are also high histamine, and other foods that are high in histamine can also include fruits like citrus, bananas, avocados, dried fruits, certain beans, nuts, or soy, and tomatoes or onions. So it really is. It can be all over the place, is the thing. And a balanced diet and a balanced gut can be helpful in digesting and processing certain things. But to have a heads up, some people will be more sensitive to certain foods than others. Chemical food additives are also known to cause headaches, especially MSG, which is found in different cuisines, and especially when you go out to eat, artificial sweeteners like aspartame and artificial colors. So I would say ideally avoid as much of those chemical food additives as possible and look for more natural foods, because you never know how your nervous system responds to certain things. And these chemical food additives tend to be nerve irritants. And if you're already experiencing headaches, which means that your nervous system is already irritated or you're already stressed, also sign of an irritated nervous system, then why not avoid things that would contribute to nervous system irritation? It just makes sense. So focus on what you can do, not what you can't do. And if you are looking at certain food sensitivities, then you might consider getting food sensitivity testing. These are slightly different than allergies. They do require some interpretation. The literature has some mixed reviews on whether food sensitivity testing is useful or not, but I have found it to be useful for some people. And again, it does require some interpretation in terms of how useful it might be for any particular person. So that was a whole overview on a multidimensional perspectives on headaches. And I hope that was helpful for you somehow. If you have any questions or comments, I would love to hear from you. If this is useful for you, then please like and subscribe and share it with somebody that you feel like could benefit from this kind of information. And let me know where you're from, where you're listening from. I always love to hear from you. If you'd like to connect with me in other ways, then you can on Instagram at All Worlds Health. You can on Facebook at All Worlds Health and Pediatrics, and you can on my website, which is allworldshealth.com. And you can sign up for my e-love letters. I send them out once a week, and I would be happy to connect with you in some way. So thank you so much for being here with me and for continuing this interest in the dialogue and this conversation on multidimensional perspectives on health. I believe in you, so I hope that you believe in you too. Lots of love to all of you. I'll see you next week on another episode of the Multidimensional MD. Take care. Bye.